Good evening, listeners. Welcome to another evening of Straight Talk here on West Coast Radio 92.1. In the studio this evening is the Straight Talk team. I am John Charles Yai, and with me is my good and dear brother, Mr. Nyang Yai, welcome once again to Straight Talk.
Thank you so much. Good evening, listeners.
Well, listeners, it's always good to be here on West Coast Radio for this evenings to just talk straight to ourselves as a nation. Talking straight is not to slight anyone, it's not to speak against anyone. Talking straight is to do what is right by us as a nation and as a people for the betterment of our dear motherland. We always say that this is the only country we have. For those of you that have dual citizenship, well and good, but for some of us, this is the only citizenship we have, and we must cherish the peace and also encourage the well-being of our country, encourage peace, stability, security in our country. And the reason we talk straight is because we want to have it right, is because we want to encourage a national discourse on the way forward for our dear country. This evening, once again, a lot on the plate to feed on, and we will begin. I've seen you raise a lot of concern about the state of our economy. Fuel prices are going up. I was told recently that the prices have gone up again. I have lost count. I have switch off on following when it goes up or goes down so that my heart is at peace. But fuel prices are going up. The central bank has come up with sort of a solution to borrow more from commercial banks, which means that banks are not going to be giving loans possibly to private businesses and the like. Interest rates will obviously go up, and our economy is not in a very good state. And somebody said something recently that it's as if the Barrow administration is doing everything in its power for the president to lose the coming election because everything is going against the grain.
Thank you so much. You have raised two of the most important questions of our time and day. See, a country is not a country if a country is poorly managed economically. Petroleum is a volatile product that is never constant as it relates to the pricing. Therefore, the price structure that the country should have is a price structure that has a buffer in it. This buffer will cushion the upward and downward swings of the petroleum market internationally, thereby giving the local market a stable price. A stable price is good because it creates price stability. Price stability reduces inflation. The way things are for the past 3-4 months, the petroleum prices have been going up minimum by $2, and that is overheating the economy because petroleum is a strategic product that runs across all economic activities. So what we need to do is we need to be mindful and worry about what's happening. On the issue of the central bank, I am worried and I am concerned because in layman's terms, let me just explain what has happened at the central bank. Banks in general have what you call required reserves. It means if you collect $1,000 from Pateliari, the bank will require you to leave $115 with the central bank as a required reserve. Then the $885 you can use it for onward lending.
Okay.
So now what the central bank in effect has done, they have reduced the required reserve. Let's say from 15% to 10%, for example.
Okay.
So now they are telling the banks, the 5% point that we have reduced translates to so much in dollars. We are encouraging you to make lending to public sector projects. It means financing of roads. But what the government needs to understand The first rule of financing and economic modeling will tell you one thing. You will and you should never make an investment that is not self-liquidating. Self-liquidating meaning it cannot pay itself. So today, if we take loans from these banks to build whatever we want to build, and those projects are not self-liquidating, meaning it's not providing funds to repay what we have put in there, it means at the end of the day, the government of the Gambia may have to give these banks an IOU through the form of treasury bills, thereby increasing, once again, a domestic debt that is already a problem. This country is in a debt stress. This country, right now, the last thing it needs is more debt. And unfortunately, the Banjul project is financed through debt.
That's what I was
The Yomi Hakalan is financed through debt. And all these projects are more politically driven. Yes, the people of Yomi need roads. Yes, the people of Banjul need roads. But how can the government do it? But I want to say one thing. I don't know whether you're aware of the fact that our COVID shots are literally dwindling or on the verge of running out, as it is. And if you go to Google, COVID shots are $3 each. So the double dose, the first shot and the last shot, will cost government $6, $300. Why should government go out and beg to the WHO, to the World Bank, to whoever, to inoculate Gambians? You see, we need to have pride and dignity, and pride and dignity need to start when we stop beggar thyself mentality. And this is the problem of this country.
Is it that our government has lost focus, lost its way, or our government is deliberately playing with fire without knowing it, or doing a martyrdom on us? That while we are in power, we will do whatever we want to do. You people wait until elections and decide what you want to decide, but we are in power. So, because it's like there was no foresight, there was no planning. We all knew that COVID would impact our economy, but we kept financing these political projects, as you would say, at the detriment of the country as where we are, because with a government that has foresight, with a government that has the interest of the people, when funds were coming in to support for COVID, couldn't they have put aside some sums for a COVID vaccine? This seems to be just a deliberate thing that the government doesn't care about its people, and the government is just doing as it wishes because possibly there are no consequences for their actions.
Well, the first rule of being a public servant is to be selfless. But unfortunately, Gambia has selfish public and political servants. What's the problem? The problem is the decision makers at the political level are putting self before the greater good's interest. What is putting self? If we have roads abound all over, most people think the voters will be happy. And that's what you call political expediency. Fiscal management, that is managing the resources of the country, need not wear political glasses and need not have a political heart. You should always look for the greater good's interest. And the greater good's interest is not to incur more debt. The greater good's interest is not to have bloated procurement contracts where contractors are giving more than the value they're giving back to society. But unfortunately, when technocrats become strange bedfellows with politicians, the end result is always catastrophic. And that's why civil service reform was the first thing needed, because most technocrats, they may not be corruptible, but they're scared to lose their position because there is no security of tenure. And they tend to play along with what the political establishment wants. And this is why we have found ourselves in a moral dilemma. And this moral dilemma is our technocrats have been entrenched to be enablers of the political desires of their political masters.
Well, Gambia, I hope you are taking note. let's move to another interesting and pertinent topic, and that is the issue of registration. We have heard in some instances that there have been a few hitches, which to some extent could be expected, but there are also concerns that these hitches may affect the number of people that would have an opportunity to vote. But there is one thing, or the opportunity to register and ultimately vote. There is one thing that you are from Banjul, I'm from Banjul. Banjul seems to be the latest in the discussion because the law says that alcalos can sign attestation forms for citizens, and in Banjul there is no alcalo. Now there is the debate whether the mayor is the rightful person to sign attestation. I have asked a legal friend that, okay, so should Banjulians be disenfranchised because the law because Banjul doesn't have an alcalo and the law does not make accommodation for, well, I don't think the law really says that nobody apart from the alcalos, because the law says yes, the alcalos, but if Banjul doesn't have an alcalo, is it, somebody said it's the law of natural justice.
Thank you.
For the mayor.
De facto.
Yes, to fill in for an alcalo. So, I mean, I know there is an argument, but for those of us that have alcalos around, is it right or is it fair for Banjulians to lose out because they don't have an alcalo?
Simple.
Mm-hmm.
The law, one, is blind.
Yeah.
Scales of justice, blind.
Yeah.
Secondly, justice delayed is justice denied.
Yeah.
Thirdly, law is brought to make sure there is an equitable dispensation.
Yeah.
Today, I think we should all agree that our laws as they are never factored in these things, and laws are made by human beings.
Yes, exactly.
And equally, what we need now is either an interpretation, because if we want to go through a process of amending, we will lose the window of this registration.
Yeah.
What's the best interest of society? What's the role of alcalo in attestation? They're the principal authorities in the locality they are.
Yeah.
Right or wrong?
Right.
Locality. I'm not talking about the national level.
Yeah.
Locality.
Yeah.
The alcalo is the biggest officer at the village level. The mayor is the biggest or highest office at the city level.
Yeah.
So if an alcalo is tasked to do attestation, clear, point blank, plain and simple.
Yeah.
But there is an omission. I think we
For the
should-
city.
For the city. Let us go back to the logic. Why is an alcalo there and not any ordinary citizen of the village? Because the alcalo is the highest officer in the village.
And this has been the practice in the time.
Forget about practice. Lu yaga du bon, but that's not the issue here. The issue is we are human beings and we need to be logical in our decisions. But I think people are being academic and technical, and in this case, it's society that's going to suffer.
And the mayor is the one that signs attestation for you to be able to get your birth certificate. So if that is the case, it does not just make sense for the mayor to sign an attestation.
Laws are made by men, and when men make laws, they're bound to have.
And again, there is, I think people fail to realize also that the registration window, yes, it will close on the 11th of July, but there is a process. The list of the list of eligible guardians to vote will be pasted at all the registration centers. People can go and check. If a name is there, you don't feel they are Gambian, you could jot it down, and then there will be the revising courts. So there is a process.
But there's a problem with that revising court, and we need to be careful with it too. Timing. And that's why I think the IEC, whether they like it or not, they have failed this whole process. Because they are running against time. When we go to the revising court, and their objections that you cannot vote, guess what? If you want to challenge it, most likely
You can-
you lose the opportunity to vote, and after the election, you may be found to be a national of Gambia.
Yeah.
So therefore,
the timing is.
IEC, they haven't been fair to the people on the ground, and they haven't been fair with the people outside of the Gambia.
Well, you cannot blame.
Yes.
No, wait. Let me say this. IEC with the timing, IEC can also blame GPPA. GPPA can blame whether it's Ministry of Finance. No, but let me come. Because IEC will tell you that they started the process for the purchase of the voter registration equipment. And the delay we know they had with GPPA had set them back.
IEC has been in this business for the longest, and they understand the snail pace of the governance architecture in the Gambia and how slow things are. Therefore, from 2017, they should be preparing for this, and everything should have been in order by the beginning of 2020. Why am I saying this? The diaspora. It is rather unfortunate that the Gambian diaspora, who bankrolled financially the new Gambia we have witnessed today, have been sidelined to be participants in our electoral process. I find that to be very disheartening.
In fact, I really don't understand why it is this complicated. Because a lot of countries have diaspora voting based on where your place of origin. IEC is insisting that, well, I stand to be corrected, but I think that's the last thing I had, that the diaspora must be considered as a separate constituency, and that needs an amendment of the law. But if in the absence of an amendment of the law, could it not just be that diasporans are allowed to register from the constituency from which they are coming? At least until we are able to get to the process of law reform or constitutional change or something.
Look, how it's done, it's not for you and me. But where there is a will, there is a way. And I think the way things stand today, we are seen as an ungrateful nation to the sons and daughters of this land, who from distant shores fought for our rights, who from distant shores made a plea for the Gambia, who from distant shores lost blood, lost families in the process of freeing this country, only to be told, thank you for all your efforts, but this thing is of ours, the people who are on the ground. That's the only way I see it, and for me, that is wrong.
There is a lot of talk about a large turnout in some places for voter registration. I am yet to go for my own.
Well, my polling station is yet to open. That's Fajara by Emporium.
Okay.
That's where
the days, but you have the days, obviously. Yeah, but I think it's important that we encourage people to go out to register. This is your opportunity.
No, but what we need to do, I think, technology has gotten to a point. We need to be sensible about how we do things. Our driver's license or our national identity card should have a code, and that code in the national identity card will show your polling station. So once you turn 18, you need not even go and register. They just bring the ID roll and make sure that your eligibility is your nationality. Then when you want to vote, you will be given an option where you are going to get your ID card. Then they will tell you where your polling station is. The government is wasting resources unnecessarily, and this is stupidity at its highest. We need security within our national document and embedded codes to give us the right to vote, so that when people turn 18, they don't have to be hustling to get ID card, voters card. This is archaic, and we need to go beyond this, because technology has given us the opportunity to do something.
Unfortunately, African governments don't respect their people enough. I think they love to see us suffer for everything that rightfully belongs to us. There is no innovation, or maybe it's also an attempt to deliberately be corrupt or for deliberate malpractices, because as you said, this is no rocket science. This can be done, it has been done in other countries, it is being done in other countries. So we could really migrate to a more efficient system as we're giving our citizens their rightful dues. The last that we'll talk about before we open the lines, yes, the police have announced that by December 31st of this year, everybody will be obligated to have the new number plates. And that was a contract that was signed with the private supplier. A contract which there has been a report that it has not gone in the right way. The government has not done anything about it. But the interesting thing is, you say we should have new number plates by the 31st of December, but you want to now begin to follow us in June to force us to have number plates. Does this not also add to the questions about the credibility or in these contracts that have been signed? It's like you are running dry and you need money, so you want to force us, even though people bought their number plates legally and there was no expiry of those number plates, there was no expiry date. Now you want to force us to buy new number plates because you have entered into a contract on our behalf without our knowledge. Is this not just a good example of bullying by our authorities?
Well, I am not even looking into the contract, and I'm not going to say a word or two about the contract because I'm indifferent to that. My message to the IGP: I am a Gambian, and if the government sells me a document or an instrument that the government sees as a bona fide instrument, and the instrument has no expiry and has an infinite validity, I will continue to use my number plates until and unless they're damaged or lost. Then I will go. The process that they need to have is called what you call a phase out process. A phase out is you don't give new number plates based on the old ones, you give them based on the new ones. If anyone destroys theirs and want the new one, they can. If anyone voluntarily want to change because they like the looks, they can. But Nyanjai will leave the number plate that's on his car that was issued to me by the police till kingdom cometh. I'm not changing, and I will advise people not to unless and until something happens. That's number one. Number two, we've all been given stickers to put in our windshields. The sticker supposedly has data. Have you been stopped at any checkpoint for someone to put a barcode reader or anything? There's a little sticker.
But the blue ones, the recent ones?
No, not the...
no, they're not giving those stickers this year.
Yes, if you have the new number plate, there is a little sticker that you stick. I think it should have data relating to the particulars of the car that number has been assigned. Have you seen any officer out in the road with an equipment to read what you have pasted on the windshield?
No, I've not seen.
Gambians are not stupid, and I don't know why our public servants take us for fools. In the past, it was the so-called biometric that was never biometric because there was nothing embedded in the chip. Now, it's a sticker being put on a windshield, and that sticker, even if there is data embedded in the sticker, I haven't seen anyone referencing whatever is in the sticker by standing at the checkpoint with a barcode reader to decode what's in it.
One thing I believe we as Gambians, where we are lacking, is somebody to, I think the number plate I have is the right one. But if I didn't have it, I would have been in a position to take the IGP to court if they want to change.
I'm not taking anyone to court. I'm waiting for someone to violate my rights. And the violation of that right starts with someone telling me you cannot fly the road because the number plate you have is not recognizable. Well, it was not my fault that I bought that number plate. It was the state that gave it to me. So phase it out. But yesterday, something very funny happened.
That's the place I was going to come to. The issue about the tow trucks.
Yes, I have a friend, a very close friend of mine. He was along Cairo Avenue, sent me a picture of a car being towed, a receipt being given to him, and for all we thought it was a receipt given to him by a private company. Because there's a name of a private company in collaboration with mobile police. I have two problems with that. The first problem, I was very happy that they're towing cars for illegally parking along the road. That is a plus in terms of sanitizing our municipal environment. But if government is entering into any arrangement with private enterprise, they should go through a PPP arrangement. This PPP arrangement will have guidelines, and government needs to monitor. Because if I'm sharing revenue with you today, and I have no monitoring mechanism to know the activity you have done, how am I going to tell you that my fair share of what you have done for the month of June is X? So the best way was for the towing company to give you a ticket, you walk into the bank, you pay, and you come back and you get your car released. That way the government has a tracking system to know how many cars are paid. But when I posted this receipt, the owner of the company called me. No, I called him because someone gave him my number and told me Mr. X wants to talk to you. I called him, and the first thing I told him, I'm not prejudiced. I don't even know you are the one who owned this company. He said, my brother, I want to tell you that receipt has nothing to do with me, and that's why I am saying the Inspector General of Police owes us an explanation. Because public officials cannot do private transactions. And that in itself, that's why I am saying our public service is disintegrated.
Somebody has said there is a thought that when the president talked about the increase in crime, the president did not focus on where crime is most potent, which is in public service.
White-collar criminals.
White-collar criminals, and the amount that they are amassing for themselves is even higher than the petty criminals in the state. And if he was serious about tackling corruption, he should have talked about the crime in high places, the crime that is alleged to be committed by ministers, permanent secretaries, and the like. But he failed woefully to talk about that crime, but he was talking about petty crime and fighting petty crime.
Well, unfortunately, people don't see wrong in what they do, they see wrong in what others do. And yes, white-collar crimes in Gambia has cost the taxpayer so much. It has even caused the death of many, i.e. road accidents because of poor design roads, i.e. people dying in hospitals, etc., etc. But we don't see that. What we see are the pickpocketers, the little drug peddlers, etc., etc. And those people, yes, they are a menace. But the bigger menace are the people in suits and ties, robbing the states of millions and millions on a daily basis, unabated.
Okay. Well, so just before we open the line, somebody said that the mayor is chosen based on the partisan. She represents the party. But I believe when you're mayor, also you're mayor for everyone.
But an alcalde too is chosen. You have councillors in these communities.
And alcaldes are not also non-political.
No. Look at Latrikunda. They voted on household levels.
Okay.
There was a tussle in Latrikunda.
But it's not political party based.
I don't care what it is. It's people.
No, but the thought is if the mayor is practicing partisan politics, she supports
alcaldes equally practice partisan politics.
Okay.
I mean, they're human beings.
All right. I'm just bringing the thoughts of the people.
Public officials mostly practice partisan politics, and they politic based on what butters their bread.
But when you win, you are not mayor of a particular party. You are mayor of everyone.
Exactly.
Or alcalde to everyone.
Just like the president is the president of everybody.
Yeah, it doesn't matter which party puts you there. You should serve the public good. Let's open the lines now. The number to call listeners is 446-1193, 446-1193. Here on West Coast Radio. Again, it's time for Straight Talk. get to the point, let's talk straight, and let's begin to heal our country and move our country forward. The first call is coming in. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Straight Talk. Yes, good evening. Welcome to Straight Talk. Yes, you're welcome.
Unfortunately, I just tuned in and then I was able to get into
Okay.
But I want you guys talking about number three and issues about it.
Yeah.
So I just want to mention one issue that I think the police need to look at very well.
Okay.
Which is the community police, almost traffic police.
Okay.
There are a lot of people out there who are police control, trying to control the traffic,
Okay.
but they don't know the law. The police will stop you and then tell you things. I mean, you're looking at this person thinking, where is this going wrong? Because just breaking down what you were like, one person got me and said, you know, where did you get this from? There was a reality that I did to get my thing. And he said, oh, you got it from the band. I said, I got it from the band. Because I got it from there, I did myself. I said, you know, these are the people that go out there and call people to come and get it. You need to do another thing. I said, what other thing? I said, no, you need to get to. He said, look, I mean, I think you guys just need to go and see another plan with them thing. Because if you just stand for somebody and then start putting on the highway without, you know, I think educating the part about small schools.
Right.
There are a lot of people out there that don't really know.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Well, yes, indeed, public servants should have, and if you're a servant, you really have to know how to talk to people. And again, sometimes I believe the way the police also handle the public is really unfair. You cannot be questioning somebody's authenticity.
But it all comes back to deconstructing the mindset, and that will only come through sincere reforms. And we haven't had sincere reforms. The same beaters of yesterday are the beaters of today. It's just that the government changed, or the culture did change.
Yeah. Well, the number to call again, listeners, is 4461193. You could call and state your point. Again, get to the point so that we could make headway and get more listeners into the program. Maybe before we have a call, or whilst we wait for the call, the thing about, let's just look at the issue of the police. You say the police are our friends and all that, community policing, but sometimes the police, as it were, bully the public because some people don't know about the law. So you just bring up things, give me your license, take people's insurance, and then go and stand somewhere.
But training, look, we need to understand one thing. Someone told me once that a checkpoint is nothing but an extortion point. Unfortunately, and with all due respect, because we see what happens at many checkpoints. Some will blatantly ask,
Okay.
rare, like it's your responsibility. But at the end of the day, we need to deconstruct the mindset and the culture of law enforcement. Period.
All right. Okay, we don't have a call coming in. You could call 446, we have a call now. You could call 446-1193. Good evening, caller. Huh? Okay. No call. Let's also talk more about the issue of registration, the need for us to take this seriously. Sometimes Gambians will wait until it is too late, the last day, everybody wants to go out and register, and if IEC doesn't extend, then we blame IEC.
When caller?
Okay, let's take this call, but we'll talk about it. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Straight Talk. Yes. Yeah, man. Okay. I'm not too clear what the question is. Paying of insurance and license, so fair insurance. But by the amount of 1,200. In fact, I thought there was a time that they had gotten rid of this payment for car license.
No, road tax.
Oh, it's the road tax that goes out.
Yeah, and the road tax is now embedded into the fuel you buy. Every liter you buy. Yeah.
All right, let's take this call. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Straight Talk. Good evening. Good evening. We lost that call. But I to the caller's question about if you don't have the 1,002, I think that's why they give us the grace period to around April for people to pay for their car license.
Look, I think the government need to find better ways. The sad thing is we collect 80% of the total revenue on roads, license, etc. the first 3 months of the year or 4 months of the year. That's when people change. And thereafter, the revenue is dry. So what the government needs to do is have an alphabetic list. Let's say people with surnames A to D, let them change between January and March, and so forth. So that way you spread the income that government should receive, because if government receives today 100 million, they'll find a way to eat it. So it's best we spread it, and that's prudent fiscal management.
Rightfully or wrongfully. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Straight Talk. There is feedback. Please turn down the volume of your radio. Please turn down the volume of your radio. We have an echo. Okay. Yes, good evening. Welcome to Straight Talk.
Thank you. If I could understand this caller, he's saying he didn't renew his ID, or he didn't say earlier before he was not allowed to change his driver's license. Yes. It's not so, as a foreigner, you have to go and change your area course before changing your driver's license. You are meant to schedule test before driver's license.
Oh, that's the order? I didn't know that. Is that a law, or is it? You know, because the interesting thing about our country is as if our authorities just make the laws as we go. Because what's the difference in, if you want to change driver's license and your alien card is yet, there is a grace period, why should they force you to have your alien card before?
Well, naturally, you first need to be legal in a country before you can drive.
Yeah.
So what that means is, if your status, if you're off status, it means any other document subsequent to your alien card, you should not have it because you're not legal.
Okay. All right, let's take this call. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Straight Talk.
Hello?
Yes, good evening. Okay, if you have paid insurance and you have paid the license for the car, but you have the old plate, and that's what we've talked about.
If you have old plate, ma wax ko ci olof mo bank ko loi bi dafa ne nguur gi moo la war a jox nomba bi ñoo xamee sa moto bi nomba bi ñoo xamee sa moto bi nag su fekkee ni nguur gi nga ko jëlee demuloo print ko ci benn printer yaa ngi amee loo xam ne dafa valide dafa legal bi te nguur gi bi mu ko say jox tayut ci expiry date ne bés sangam at sangam lii du baaxaat fekk nguur gi def loolu bi nga amee ci sa moto bi mun nga koo dawal benn dam bem réer nga door ko wecci man falaa taxaw suma moto yu màgget yaa ci nekk te dinaa continuer di ko dawal dañ ma wàccee ci tali bi te booba nag dinañ ma mën a wax lu set lu tax ma war koo génnee suñ ma ko mayee nag suñ ma mayee bu ees ma jël ko waaye du ma ko jënd fekk bu màgget bi ma jëndoon yaaxulut.
Right.
Wow.
Okay. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Straight Talk. Please turn down the volume of your radio. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much. You know, we have another call. Okay, the thought just struck me that if political parties have contentions, they want to contest certain things that happen during the registration, they could always go to the revising courts. They could even challenge these things at the courts now, have an injunction or whatever they call it. So that, but I think the noise in this country is like people know what to do and they don't want to do it. They keep complaining.
Now,
when the law,
it's very unfortunate that the Gambian like to outsource his or her social deliverables to others to do. When they pass a new job or a Nyanjai, keep up what you're doing a good job. Nyanjai cannot do it alone. He needs more people, critical mass of like-minded people. But the Gambian wants others to do their dirty work. And that's why people call you when they're fired. People call you when they think their rights have been infringed. Like you're here to fight for people. You're here to fight for your conscience.
And the unfortunate thing is that you can even fight for them when they get there. Even to have an appointment with them becomes a happening task.
Well, we've seen them.
Yeah. Good evening. Welcome to Straight Talk. Yes, welcome to Straight Talk. Yes. Fine. Munga wani sa radio bi volume bi ya mi ngam feedback. Be pare nga wax ci kaw tuuti. Jërëjëf. Register.
Wow.
Ci lan. Waaw waaw. 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 Okay. Okay. Thank you. For what man small advice, I'm not in the CS was in the observe elections, political parties, yet maybe observers. I think we want to then document. So let me say, Manola, when I register, my video, best bull revising courts obey. New York but at the registration center, New York was confusion there. So this is the thing I'm a Gambian paper. Tenuru Gambian sir. Once I'm a Gambian paper, you're going to have IC officials and people register. But so this be again, see them when I decision Ki what you want for IEC, but in your revising courts, we still have the courts to challenge. So political parties, what we never done. When it's time to act, let us act. Let us jot everything, document them. Lady can put video or record. Following this, we correct it. Record them. When they put on the President Magdalene Guinea, they just Guinea, Lolo Yep, Sudan, Muno say text attack. Muna text with Gambian Bulek. Now make sure you will be put up. So time to contest any registration. You contest what? Then you buy what you buy. Take that.
Man, President,
yes.
Whether even it's a personal visit, so when you how many you make sure they live more. Then you save what you need. Kenn ku jógee ci biti du ci bokk te su si bokkee ñun la neex mu bokk si. kon nañ leen ubbi suñ bët yi. make sure that suñ fi gisee lu jaaduwul ñu jóg xeex ko xeex bi du bañante du dóorante mooy ut sa evidence yóbbu ko fi ko war a yóbbu. boobaa doom dina neex ndeyam. gis nga fii li fi amoon du fi amaat. golo benn jurul doom yi kenn.
ñu ne gannaaw bi kenn
te gannaaw bi kenn kon nag. Fee, ñëpp a fi am. Wow, gannaaw Gambien nga daal kenn ku ko def.
Let's take this call. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Straight Talk. Why is the radio me, please? Someone is the radio me. All right, wow.
Why doo mën a wax ne seen dalasi lañ war a fay imposé nit ñi ay poos ci loolu. loolu foofu ba tey. mu ne ma ne man loolu su ma luwaa la ma ne ko ne yow xamul luwaa bi nekkul sa bopp. ma ne ko ne luwaa bi ñu nekk ci bopp la man de ma xam ne client. yaa ngi ma ne waaw ñu ngi koy seet. parce que dégg la ñoo fay.
ok.
donc da ngaa gis ne moom mu ngi gis loolu ñu ngi nekk. comme xam nga. da nga war a am kalaay. te da nga war a am kalaay.
jërëjëf.
Thank you very much. Jërëjëf. Yes, it's good. Gambians read the law, know what the law says, where your rights begin and where they stop. We have one more call or so before we close. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Straight Talk. Yes. Thank you.
I'm investing. You know what happened around 2019? Just before the transition from the mobile police to the number plates by the company.
Yeah.
Some of what amount, but around that time I had a car that was already assigned a number and all the payments were made with the GRA. Then it was with the police.
Yeah.
But the number plate was never given to me. I was assigned a number, so we made some. We had to improvise and affix it to our vehicle.
Yeah.
For a very long time. They did not give us our plate. Then after some time, they sell it to the private company.
And pay again.
Okay. Number plate after you want already with the GRA. You see, that is very disheartening, the problem of people.
Yeah, okay.
And also the other thing you are talking about, you already have the number plate that was issued to you by the government to pay for it. Not everybody will have to say like that. You know, and it is in good order, peaceful and fair. And then you want me to go and do it with a private company and pay again full payment. And I think what the other guy was saying is that after having all the documents for the vehicle, the insurance and everything else, you have to go for a testing. Before you can declare to be documented or giving you our license to drive or the car, whatever document. So when you go to the stadium there, everything is in order, everything is fine, but you're having the whole number plate that is in good order. They will not clear you. You have to go there with the import by post to go and change. That's what they were saying. You have the 1,200
to go and pay.
The number plate.
Okay.
Reject you. Forcing you, to go and pay, and you not pay, they will not give you documents.
And then they will eventually stop it. But Mr. Jai, I think our representatives, the National Assembly members, should be able to call the IGP to order and find out exactly what is happening, because the National Assembly represents us, the people. We put them there.
Yeah, but these are trivial issues.
No, but it's not trivial, because, look.
But if that's the case, the National Assembly will be calling in public officials on a daily basis.
But they are taking advantage on the average Gambian. Mr. Jai, if an average Gambian goes to get their license and it's not given, and you are driving along the road and they are stopping people from car license, people that have expired car license, you'll be stopped.
All you need to do, let civil society do that role. Look, we need to make sure that the National Assembly takes care of major issues. These are minor issues, and we need to make sure that we bring them to the front and stop it.
Well, that's why they are there, to take care of the people. Okay, Mr. Derry, we don't have time again. Let's wrap up for this evening.
Well, I'll just remind everybody that democracy comes with rights, these rights comes with responsibilities, and one of the most fundamental responsibilities of citizenship is voting, especially in a country where the demography shows that we have a youthful population. This youthful population are hopeless because they don't have jobs. This youthful population are hopeless because they are ill-equipped with good life skills, i.e. good education. So therefore, it is their duty to go out, register, make sure that the time comes, they go out and vote for their future. People who can make a better life and livelihood for them in the Gambia. Thank you so much.
Well, Gambia, that is it for us this evening. Remember, go and register, don't wait for the last minute. If you have concerns, jot it down. You could officially send to the IEC or to the relevant authorities. Political party agents do the same. Let's observe decorum. Let's have a peaceful registration process. There will be concerns, there will be questions, but let's do what is right and keep the peace. Until we come your way next week, have a lovely evening. This is the Straight Talk team signing off and saying, have a blessed evening. God bless you and God bless our dear country, the Gambia.